Hey everybody, Tom here, otherwise known as Scary Spikes, and thank you so much for joining me for another Star Citizen video. Today, I'll be telling you everything that you need to know about ship components, how to research and upgrade your ship. Before we get started, please make sure to like the video if you find it helpful, subscribe, it's free, and make sure to ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future. If you'd like, also make sure to join us on our Discord, link in the description below, to meet, chat, and play with all of our community members, as well as join us on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 PM, link for that in the description below as well. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. Okay, so you've just bought a fancy ship and you're looking to upgrade. Well, you're in the right place. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know step by step, and that starts with researching what you need to upgrade. In order to do that, we'll first need to have a look at the ship that you want to upgrade. So press F1 to get into your mobi-glass, and on the second tab at the bottom, just go ahead and click this button here that looks like a ship, and that'll bring you to the Vehicle Loadout Manager. On the top right hand corner, you'll see that you have a drop-down list. Click on this once, and don't worry if it doesn't appear right away, that's normal. You might notice that there are some padlocks here. This means that these ships are not editable. The reason for that is because those ships are not stored at the current space station or landing zone where you're currently at. So in order to make them editable, you'll need to fly your ships over to your current landing zone, or you'll need to go to a different landing zone that houses the ship that you want to edit. You won't be able to edit these at all, but you can still click on them to look at them in read-only mode. So let's just say that we want to upgrade our Aegis Vanguard Harbinger. Just go ahead and click on the ship. This may take a little bit of time to pop up, but you'll see this screen. It's fairly simple, but if you break it down into components, it becomes even easier to understand. Over here, you'll see a 3D model of your ship, so you can look around and you can see how the model changes based on the different weapons and components that you add to your ship. Just know that it's mostly the missiles and weapons that are going to change the look of the ship. When you change components, those components are usually housed inside the body of the ship, and so you won't really see any changes on the outside. At the very bottom here, you'll see there is some details here, and these are details relevant to the current item that you have selected. So for example, if we select the Viper 3 missile here, you'll see that we have a model of the Viper 3, as well as its size, its grade, the lower the better, and also a quick description, which you may be able to scroll down to read the rest of it if there's more here. At the very top, you'll see that there are several different categories. First, we see that there's miscellaneous, then we have propulsion, then we have the systems tab, weaponry, and paint. So starting with the Misc Tab, most of the time in the Misc Tab, you're only going to see the different missiles that are available to you. Now note that you cannot change your missile carriers or your missile racks here. You can only change the physical missiles that you have on your ship, meaning that there will be a selection of different missiles showing here which are compatible with the missile racks or carriers that you have on your ship currently equipped. Change the actual racks, you'll need to go into a different area. I'll show you that in just a moment. Before we continue, we'll just look at the rest of the tabs here. So under the propulsion tab, you only have one category, and that's going to be your quantum drive. This is what allows you to quantum travel, which basically means just fast travel between one location and another that are very far away. And you can see that we have a selection of different quantum drives available. And you'll see that this trend continues when we go into the systems tab, where we can see coolers. Coolers are actually responsible for cooling your systems and weapons whenever they overheat. And also you have your power plants. These are ideally what support your power requirements on the ship. So all of your different components have a cooling requirement as well as a power requirement. So the power plants support your ship with power. And then looking here, we see that we have shield generators. Again, these are quite self-explanatory. They provide shields to your ship. Over in weaponry, you can see that we have all of our different hard points here. We have different mounts and different weapon hard points, and as well as attachments for our missile racks. Note that if you want to attach a fixed hard point or a fixed rack or a fixed weapon to a hard point, you need to make sure that that fixed weapon is the same size as the actual hard point. If you want to attach a gimbaled weapon, for example, you can only do so if the gimbaled weapon is one size smaller than the actual attachment point. So for example here, we see that on our nose, we have this size 5 attrition laser weapon. The actual mount itself is size 5. but we're only able to mount a fixed size 5 weapon because of the requirements of the ship. If we wanted to mount a gimbaled weapon, we would first need to choose a gimbal, which would be a size 5 gimbal. And when you click on that, you'll see that you have another option down here, which allows you to pick a weapon. Note that the weapon will have to be size 4 and not size 5. It's always the same no matter which ship you fly. So if you want to have a fixed weapon, the weapon can be the same size as the mount. If you want to have a gimbaled weapon, it has to be one size smaller than the mount, which in this case is a size 5 gimbal. Gimbaled weapons allow you to more accurately target your enemies. If you want more information about gimbaled weapons, make sure to check out the bounty hunting guide I did here. Notice that we can also change our missile racks here. One thing that you'll notice is there is a number attached to each missile rack. This one is the 423. This number actually means something, and it's not just a name. The 4 indicates the size of the actual rack, the 2 indicates how many missiles can be held on that rack, and the 3 indicates the size of the missile that can be held on this rack. So if we interpret this number, 4 tells us that it's a size 4 rack, which is capable of holding 2 size 3 missiles. And this applies to all missile carriers or missile racks, so you can get a really good idea when you're at center mass, for example, buying missile racks for your ship as to which kind of missiles they can support without necessarily having to read the descriptive text at the bottom, which will tell you the same thing, just take a little bit more time. Moving on to paint, we can see that we do have an option to change the paint of several different ships. Unfortunately, I don't have any paints for this ship, but you can buy certain paints for certain ships, which are available on the pledge store, or sometimes they're available in a ship store or a component store, like the one we're currently in at Port Olisar. For deciding how to upgrade your ship, you'll need to understand 3 fundamental things. First of all, the size of the weapon, ammo, or component. Second of all, you'll need to understand its grade. And third of all, its class. Let's first talk about size, because that seems to be the biggest differential among the different types of things that you can upgrade your ship with. First and foremost, the weaponry. Weaponry ranges from size 0 all the way up to size 10, although the very high sizes are not really available right now and are capital class size weapons, which we'll see on the likes of things like the Polaris or the Javelin. Missiles, or torpedoes, go all the way up to size 9. They can be fitted to varying ranges of ships. For example, on this Harbinger, we have a selection of size 3 missiles and size 5 torpedoes. Systems like quantum drives, coolers, power plants, and other ship components go up to a size 4. Size 4 is the capital size, so most ships won't even go up to 4. For example, the 890 Jump, which is a capital class ship, has size 4 everything, and most other ships have size 3 or lower. One level of ubiquity that is quite convenient is the grading system, which is again ubiquitous between the weapons and the components of any given ship. The higher the number, the worse the item is, generally speaking. So if we can see here, we have a number of shields. The secure shield is a grade 4, this full stop shield is a grade 3, and this FR76 is a grade 1. Generally, like I said, the lower the number, the better the quality of the item and the better performance you might expect to get from it. Lastly, the class of the component gives you an idea of what the component is supposed to be used for. Generally speaking, it's not always an indication of performance or quality, but most of the time the military and industrial class items do tend to perform better than their counterparts. Some classes available are civilian, competition, stealth, military, and industrial. Now, obviously, as a new player, going into a shop like this, like Dumper's Depot at Port Olisar, can be quite intimidating. There's quite a lot to choose from, and even more if you use the terminal on the wall. if we access this touchscreen, we can see that we have quite a large selection, and it's decently organized, but for somebody that's relatively new, it can be quite daunting, and it could be quite a few things to scroll through. For example, if we're looking for a quantum drive, we can see that there's a number of different quantum drives available here, and they do give us basic information such as the size and the grade, as well as the class of the item, but it doesn't really tell you much more than that, and so we're kind of forced to do one of two things: either make our best guess or look it up. And the best place to do so would be Urkel.games, which will be linked in the description. This website is excellent at telling both new and experienced players alike which products are good, how they'll function in the ship, and basically almost anything else that you want to know. Let's head over to Urkel.games and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is Urkel Games, and if it's your first time here, I know there's a lot to go through, but again, if you segregate everything into categories, it just becomes quite a bit more manageable to use, and the more you get used to using this service, the better you're going to be at upgrading your ships. So let's go through it together. Now, we have a Harbinger, and that's the ship that we want to upgrade, so we want to go over to the ships over here on the left-hand side. Go ahead and click on that. Click into the search bar and type in Harbinger, or whatever your ship happens to be. Okay, there's the ship. We have an at-a-glance view here of the ship's systems and a little bit of its stats, but we want to edit the ship and edit the loadout and then share it with one of our friends. So let's go ahead and do that by clicking on this arrow over here. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll see this screen. Again, it's pretty much the same as the screen you will see when you first come onto the website, and there are a few different details to have a look at. First of all, in the leftmost column, these are going to be all of your weapons, missiles, and all of the different various ship components that are on the ship stock. The middle column here will have a picture of the ship as well as some additional details and specifications. It'll also have the UEC cost of the ship, which is the cost of the ship in the game, and it may also have the pledge store price, but since those change quite often, the best place to go and see what the pledge store price of the ship is, which would be for real money, would be to go to the RSI official website. Over on the right hand side, we can see the name of the ship over here, the manufacturer logo on the right hand side, a few other options here, including the option to share our loadout once it's finished, and some further statistics about the ship, including the amount of damage or DPS it currently does, the amount of turret damage that it does, the amount of damage within its missile payload that it has to offer, its total shields, its power, its cooling, its EM signature, as well as a variety of other stats and information down here. Go ahead and read through this in your own time, but really the only thing that we're going to concern ourselves with is the information on the left-hand side, since it's really going to be pivotal in helping us to upgrade the ship. So first and foremost, we can see that we have some weapons on the top left-hand corner here. What you can do is you can change the mounts. So for example, going from a gimbaled size 4 to a fixed size 5, and then the actual weapons will be on the right hand side. You'll start with being able to see the categories of different weapons, followed by the actual weapons themselves. When you change this, your DPS will also change, so be mindful of that. If we scroll down, we can see that we also have turrets. Now, this is not something that you can really change here because most of the time on most ships anyway, the turrets are fixed. So the only thing that you can change are the different types of weapons that you put into your turrets. They're available here, and clicking on each one of them or further researching them in the categories on the left will give you more information about the damage they do and also other information that you might find useful. Over here, we can see that we can change not only the missile racks, which we talked about earlier, but we can also see the different types of missiles that we can put in those given racks and how much damage they do. And again, that will reflect the stats and the information that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. Finally, if we scroll down a little bit further, we can see that we have our shields, power plants, coolers, as well as the quantum drive. And most of these things can't really be changed, so don't pay too much attention to those. Just pay attention to this information here, which gives you info about the different components on the ship. So as you can see here, you can't actually change the size of the mounts or the size of the components because those are fixed to any given ship. What you can change though is you can change the class of component as well as the grade of the component. Most of the time you're locked in to the actual size, so you can't change that, but you can definitely change the class and the grade. And again, clicking on any number number of these will give you information and update the information on the right hand side. So by doing so, you can actually make a build for yourself without investing the money in the game first to see if it's something that would be viable or workable for you. And then once you're happy with what you have, you can go ahead and update that in the game. So we'll just do a simple build here. I'm going to leave the CVSA cannons. These are the proprietary nose cannons on the front of the ship. I'm going to change the mount of the nose-mounted gimbaled weapon that was on there before from a size 4 to a size 5. And at the moment for size 5, the attrition lasers happen to be doing quite well. If you want more information about the meta, you may be able to find it here on Urkel, but you can also go to Spectrum and see what people are talking about for the current meta. This right now is a really good weapon, so we'll just go ahead and leave it there. Just keep in mind that the gimbaled and the fixed weapons behave a little bit differently, where if you have a fixed weapon, you have to use your ship for the most part to aim. If you have a gimbaled weapon, you do get an aim assist, so just keep that in mind. We'll scroll down here and we'll see that we also have some Jericho XL weapons in our turret. These are okay, but I actually prefer laser repeaters, so we're going to click on this. We're going to go down to laser repeater, and we're going to click the CF227 Badger, which again, they're really quite good. They have a good mix of damage and range, and they are my preferred weapons to use for turrets. You may have different preferences, you can choose those here. Finally, for missiles, I'm quite happy with the loadout that we have here, although to be honest, I would prefer to go with size 3 missiles. So with the exception of the arresters that we have here and the size 5 torpedoes, I'm going to change this missile rack to accommodate some more size 3 weapons or size 3 missiles, since that's just a personal preference of mine. Again, choose whatever you like. There's no real wrong or right answer here. Some missiles are better than others, but ultimately it's your choice. Okay, so now that we've got our missile loadout configured, we can configure our different components. We'll start with the shields, and I'm going to have a look and see whether we can have a good military grade shield. Usually military grade FR76 is a fantastic, or military class, my apologies, is a fantastic shield that has a really great shield pool, as you can see here. And I usually pair this with a industrial shield. So I usually pair that with the Rampart, which is actually quite good at regen, and the FR76 has quite a good shield pool. So with these combined, they do a pretty good job at protecting the ship. Moving on, I'm going to go to power plants. For these, I'm going to go with military as well, and I'm going to choose the size 2 JS400 for both of my power plants. These are pretty much the go-to power plants for just about any ship. They're fantastic. They deliver more than enough power for everything that I need, and they're just really reliable and very good power plants. So that's my recommendation for this particular build. For coolers, we're going to go military as well. Actually, for the coolers, I'm thinking maybe I'll go industrial. The snowpacks are usually quite good, and I'll choose the snowpacks for both. Again, these are just personal preference. They're just ones that I've enjoyed using based on my playstyle, but you'll need to experiment a little bit and see what works for you. You can also check the Spectrum boards to see what the meta is, but again, at the end of the day, these choices are here for your benefit, and it's so that you can choose whatever works for you based on how you play the game. Finally, the Quantum Drive, we're going to be upgrading this as well, and we're going to go with the XL1. Mind you, you can also go with the Crossfield, which is not quite as fast, but it's definitely a lot cheaper. If you have the moolah though, definitely go with the XL1. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's a very straightforward demo build, and in order to share this, I'm just going to click on this button, and I'm going to paste this into the description below if you'd like to copy this build for your own needs. Let's get back into the game and apply this build to our ship. Okay, so we're back in. Now, I already have all the components that I need, but if you don't have the components yet, you will need to go and buy them, and one of the best places to do so is Microtech. So if you go into your map by pressing F2, double click on Microtech, zoom in, and then you'll want to make yourself a new nav point to New Babbage, which is just here. Of course, I can't do that because I'm not on a ship, but once you're in a ship, you can do this, and you can head over to New Babbage, and you'll want to go over to the Commons and head into a shop called Omega Pro. They'll be able to sell you any of the components that you need, and Center Mass in the same building will be able to sell you any weapons that you need. Once you have that, go ahead and head over to your Vehicle Loadout Manager and select your ship, and we'll get started. Okay, so we're good to go. I've gone ahead and already adjusted my missile rack, so you'll see that I have all of my size 3 missiles here, and I also have my size 5 torpedoes. If we move over to propulsion, we can change over from the one that we had before into our XL1, which is just down here. Remember that you won't be able to update anything until you actually click the save button on the bottom right, so make sure to do that. Then head over to systems, and we'll be upgrading our coolers, power plants, and shield generators. So for the coolers, we went with the snowpacks. So I'll just go down here and select those. For the power plants, we went with the JS400s. There we go. And for the shield generators, I'm going with 2 FR76s, although you can also use 1 Rampart if you have it. I don't have those at the moment, so I'm just going to stick with these. With regards to weaponry, there is only one thing that we need to change, and that is the nose-mounted weapon. So instead of the size 4 gimbal, I'm going to just be using the size 5 Rhino, or the attrition laser repeater. My apologies. So go ahead and click on that, and that will remove our size 4 gimbal and just put in the single size 5 attrition laser repeater on the front. Again, make sure to understand that these are fixed weapons. You will need to steer your ship and be very vigilant when you're attacking your enemies, because you will not have any aim assist with fixed weapons. Those are only available with gimbaled weapons, but at a cost of having a 1 size smaller weapon. So whatever works for you, go ahead and do that. And now we're all finished. If this video was helpful to you, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing if you're brand new. We have a great community here and happy to help you on our Discord as well. Make sure to ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future, and join us on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 PM Eastern, and hang out with the community live as we play some Star Citizen. I hope this video was helpful to you. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.